briefly go through mixing the double vocals, or the vocals we're using for doubling, and the chorus vocals as well, the high harmonies. So what I'm going to do is actually just drag the double right. I'm going to drag that down so it's on the other side of the lead vocal, if you like. So I've got left and right, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to keep the left harmony up there, and I'm just going to drag the right harmony down to the bottom there, just so when I go to the mixer, what I've got is I've got the lead vox in the middle, and then I've got my double right and my double left, my chorus right and chorus high left. What I'm going to do is I want to actually pan the chorus high left all the way to the left and the chorus high right all the way to the right. Now, of course, you may not want to do it to such extremes. That's absolutely fine. But in this case, that is the effect that I actually want. So if I play it, it's not going to sound particularly pleasant because the volumes aren't mixed at the moment. But I'll just unmute the chorus highs. I'll be waiting. Okay, so let's just get these volumes a bit more sorted out. So I'm just going to quickly link these channels, and I want to link every single thing on these apart from the pan, of course, because they're panned in different directions. So that's fine. I've got a link on there. Now I can just change the volume of both of them at the same time. Be waiting. I'll be waiting. And that's fine. So what I want to do is actually compress these, and I want to compress them quite heavily, as these vocals are meant to complement the main vocal, not take away from them. So I don't want any sudden sharp peaks where the vocal, suddenly draws your attention to the harmony vocal. So I'm going to compress these quite heavily to get around that. So I'm going to go to the group that I've got now. I put them on, both routed them through to the Vox harmony group. And again, I can just copy across my filter, the low pass filter, just taking out that sub there. And I'm going to want to compress them. So I'm going to copy that compressor across, but I'm just going to use some slightly more extreme settings here. So turn the ratio right up to just under 5, and turn the attack right down as well, because I don't want any sort of extra emphasis on those words. Okay, so that's fine compression wise, but I definitely want them to sit a bit further back in the mix. So on the Vox harmony group, bring up the channel settings, and I'm going to send those through to the reverb group. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for you. And that's not sounding too bad. Okay, so that is the sort of the high harmony. So if I just mute them for a second, and now I want to do the same thing for our main doubled vocal. So again, in the mixer, I'm just going to select both of those, the double left and the double right. I'm just going to link those channels quickly. Now, most DAWs will support linking your channels, so this shouldn't be just a feature that's unique to Cubase. And again, I'm not going to want them at full volume, so I'll just turn them down a bit, and I want to pan them, but this time not fully left and fully right like I have with the harmonies. I'm just going to go about midway, so I'm going to do the double left about 30-ish. 32 will do nicely for each one. So the double left obviously pan to the left and the right to the right. Be waiting. I'll be waiting for you. And again, I want to have that filter over there. So again, I'm going to copy the filter across, and I want to compress them. Again, I want to compress them quite heavily because I don't want any peaks in there to suddenly cut through the main vocal and take your attention away from the main vocal. They're really in there just to frame the main vocal and make the main vocal sound bigger. So I'm going to copy that compressor over that I just used for the Vox harmony. It's quite heavy compression. Be waiting, I'll be waiting. Which of course will even out these peaks. Waiting. get a nice consistent sound.
I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
So now it's time to give the doubles and the chorus highs, the harmonies, a proper sort of volume mix. So first of all, I just want to reset the volumes of the individual channels. So my chorus high the actual tracks and the double left actual tracks, I need to reset the volume from them. I want those to be kicking out their maximum volume. So I do all of my mixing on the actual group channels that both of those are mixed through. And the reason for that is that the compressor is on the actual vocal backing track or the Vox Harmony group track, not the actual harmony tracks themselves, but where they've been grouped to. So if I change the initial track volume level, then it will effectively actually raise the threshold of the compressor by changing the input signal. And of course, I don't want to do that. I want the compressor to be compressing fairly heavily, as we've already gone through. So that's fine. To make sure that our chorus high and double left volume levels are set to full on the actual initial tracks. And we'll do, like I say, all the mixing on the group channel tracks. So first of all, I'm just going to completely turn down the volumes of the Vox Harmony and Vox backing groups. Just leave the main vocal playing. And I'll just slowly bring up the Vox backing to mix in with the main vocal.
And I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
So my main aim in mixing in the doubled vocal is not really as an effect, it's just purely there to emphasize and bring more to the main vocal. So if it's sort of taking away from the main vocal, then I've gone too far in mixing it in, like, you know, I've brought the volume up too high. And it doesn't particularly want to stand out. It can be used as an effect. If you really want to get that sort of, you know, tripled sort of vocal sound, then that's fine. But in this case, I really want to just emphasize and fatten up the main vocal track. So it does that in a couple of different ways, because obviously it's panned, not quite hard left and hard right, but it's panned left and right. So it has an effect stereo-wise. It sort of widens the main vocal. And spatially as well, in a bit, we're going to be adding some extra sort of reverb to this group and some delay, extra delay. So it'll have an effect as well of like having a deepening effect. So it works in a couple of different ways on the main vocal.
In for you.
And it's always a good idea, once you got what you think is roughly sort of like the right volume level for something, then of course just mute, unmute, check it. When it comes in, it doesn't want to be too prominent, it doesn't want to be too quiet either. So just use the mute on and off just to sort of keep gauging whether that is actually right. Change the volume fader if you need to, and then mute, unmute to keep checking it.
I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting. I'll be
And that's actually pretty good for what I want. That's not too far off at all. So that's fine. I'm going to now leave that mixed in, and I want to start working on the Vox Harmony. So I'm going to do it in exactly the same way.
Waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
Now, of course, with the harmony, it's slightly different to the doubled vocal. The doubled vocals there literally just to enhance the main vocal. The harmony is a separate vocal altogether, if you like, or at least a separate part of the main vocal. So that wants to be perhaps a little bit more prominent. It depends, and you may have loads of different like layered harmonies. So you may not want them all to be completely loud or whatever, but obviously it's got to be mixed to the correct level. So this harmony sort of really adds just something, adds some variation to it. So I don't want it to be too quiet. I want it to be prominent enough that it's vocal there, people can hear it, and it is something that they can actually focus on, rather than just being hidden away and just enhancing the main vocal. But it's still, of course, a background sound. So there's a balance that needs to be reached there.
Waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting.
So, of course, it doesn't want to be as loud as the main vocal, but it doesn't want to be too quiet. It certainly doesn't want to be as quiet as the doubled vocals. So roughly around there is actually a pretty good level. So I'm quite happy with that. So, of course, you know, it's fine just mixing something in the chorus, listening to it over and over again. You need to do that. But what you definitely want to do as well is check it from further back in the track. Just to get a bit of sort of perspective on how these extra vocals are sounding. So I'm just going to listen through from the first verse and just really sort of watch for what sort of impact the doubled vocals and the harmonies have on the actual track when they come in. I just want to make sure that they're not standing out too much, but at the same time, I want them to contrast quite nicely, or add some contrast between the verse and the chorus. I want the chorus to stand out more, but I don't want it to, you know, jump out too much. You want there to be a balance there as well. So I'm just going to play that and we'll have a listen, see what it sounds like.
I wait on every word you say. I wait for the clouds to clear. One day I will tell you what you mean to me. One day I will hold you in total ecstasy. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for you. I dream.
Okay, so that actually sounds pretty good to me. I might possibly, when it comes to the sort of main mix later on, I might want to tweak those volume levels very slightly, but that's actually not sounding too bad, so I'm quite happy with that. So the next thing I want to look at is the doubled words that I've used for the second verse here.
I dream that you look me in the eyes.
So at the moment, the vocals aren't sort of particularly prominent, or sorry, the doubled vocals aren't particularly prominent there. You can't really even hear them.
I dream.
They sound very low in volume. So I want a bit more emphasis on those words that I've picked the double there. So here I'm just going to use a bit of automation actually. So I'm just going to bring down automation track. And although I don't want to be affecting the volume, we'll actually increase the volume of the group channel to mix these in. But I do want to pan them harder left and right just for this one section. So I'm just going to automate the pan here. Where they only pan sort of 32 to the left there, just for this section. Turn the read on. Set a start and end point because I don't want to affect the panning of it overall, just for this section. And then I'm just going to pan that one hard to the left. And I'll do the same with the double right. Just so these are now panned hard left and hard right, just for these words. I just want that for this section.
I dream that you look me in the eyes.
And again, it's just not too loud there, so I just want to change the volume. So I'm just going to set my loop region over the section that I want to affect, and then I'll go down to my Vox group, the backing group, hit the read button and turn up the volume for that section. Again, I don't want to affect the volume of the earlier or later parts of the track, so I just set my automation point so I don't affect the rest of the track.
I dream that Did you look me in the eyes? I dream.
That's better. Now I can hear them.
Did you say you love me? I'll be the lover that'll always put you first.
Now that's fine volume-wise and panning-wise, perhaps even very slightly too loud, but we can always tweak that later on. So of course I could just add any effects I like to this section of the vocal, just to these words individually, and then bypass that effect for the rest of the doubled vocal track. But we're going to get into that in the more sort of creative processing when we start looking at parallel processing now. So for now, that's fine. I don't need to tweak the vocal anymore. I just wanted to get a rough mix and make those words stand out a little bit more. So the vocal is sounding quite nice, but I do want to add a delay to that vocal. It's got reverb on it already, as you may well have noticed. So I've got it going through to my reverb group, or sent through to my reverb group. But I definitely want to add a delay. So I'll just show you a couple of little things on that. So one is just using a sort of normal stereo delay, as I'm sure you'll have on your DAW, to make a ping pong effect. So to make the ping pong effect with just a normal stereo delay, obviously we've got each side here. So we've got the right hand side there and the left hand stereo side there. So for the left hand one, I'm just going to set that to 1 beat, and for the delay on the right hand side, I'm going to select that to 1 beat, but 1 beat dotted time. And I'm just going to bring the mix down, because the mix is always way too high at 50%. So literally something like 12.5 on each side, and just bring the feedback down a little bit as well.
I wait on every word you say. I wait.
Adding like a ping pong delay is a really good way of just adding some extra width to a vocal. So if you haven't really got many options on the sort of stereo widening front, like you don't have doubled vocals to use to actually sort of, you know, pan left and right, you can actually use a stereo delay or a ping pong delay to sort of get at least some stereo width in the vocal and just make it sound that bit sort of nicer and deeper.
For the clouds to clear one day, I will
I'd still say the mix is just a little bit high, so I'm going to take them right down to 8.5.
tell you what you mean to me one day.
So obviously that's a standard sort of delay plugin that you'll find in most DAWs, but I actually quite like the Timeless 2 by FabFilter. This is a really neat delay. It's a very sort of clever delay. It's got quite a lot of modulation that you can set up to go on the actual delay itself. So you can have some quite funky dubby effects. And it's actually quite nice. So even just the standard default setting is actually quite nice. The wet level perhaps turned down a touch.
I wait on every word you say. I wait for the clouds to clear one day. I will tell you what you mean to me. One day I will hold you.
And there you go. You can hear when I'm bypassing it, suddenly it sounds much drier, obviously, when it's bypassed. And it just gives it that really nice sort of feel and helps it fit into the track. And obviously this is a fairly sort of dubby-ish kind of track, so having that kind of delay on it really does sound good.
Hold you in total ecstasy. I'll be waiting. I'll be.
And so, of course, these are my 3 vocal tracks here: vocals, vocal backing, and vocal harmony. So I'm going to copy across the Timeless delay to them as well. And I'm just going to turn up the wet mix a bit on the doubled vocal.
Be waiting for you. I'll be waiting.
And again, I'm going to copy that across to the harmonies group as well, the one I've just turned the wet mix up. And I go into that and turn the wet mix up just yet again to give those harmonies even more depth.
I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting.
So you can hear there the sort of difference in depth from the sort of echo or delay point of view. So you've got obviously the main vocal running right through the middle, center stage, and with the least amount of delay on it, still got a bit, maybe even a fraction too much. And then we got the vocal doubles, which obviously have just slightly more depth. So they'll sit a bit further back, but that really sort of helps play with the main vocal that they're kind of clones of. So it just helps fatten them up on different levels there, on a depth perception and stereo width, and just on a harmonizing level as well. So it really helps fatten up the vocals. This is one of the main proper ways you can fatten up a vocal, by using the doubles and of course using harmonies as well. So there's just one last thing that I want to show you, and that is sometimes around this time in the mix when you've started adding delays and reverbs, or when you come to actually mix the vocal and you find that the vocal's just sitting a little bit too far back in the mix, but it's got the right kind of spatial sound to it, so you don't want to mess with that too much, and you just want to be able to bring it forward slightly in the mix. There's this really cool little trick that I'm going to show you. So I'll just get the vocal playing and let's have it over the chorus. So obviously, I'm not bothered about bringing the Vox harmonies forward or the doubled tracks, so I'm just talking about the main vocal here. So I'll just mute the others. And what we do is simply just double the compressor. So literally the compressor that we got, I'm just literally going to copy that down and double it up. So I'll just let that play and bypass it a few times so you can really hear the difference there.
You look me in the eyes, I dream. Did you say you love me? I'll be the lover that'll always put you first, and I'll stand by you through the good times and the worst. I'll be waiting.
So you can kind of hear there, that's the vocal. It just jumps forward. It doesn't actually change in volume. If you look at the volume levels of the vocal channel, the volume actually doesn't really change that much, but it just brings it forward in the mix. It's a really handy little thing to do.
I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting.
And the way that this works, or the way that this can work, is because I've got that first compressor set. So the output of this compressor is basically the same as the non-modified input. But that's another reason that it's important to get the compressor to the same level. So when I do, if I want to double it up, when I do, it's not actually going to change the volume. So if that compressor, that first compressor was increasing the volume, and I just copy it again, it's literally going to increase the volume again. And again, you get that false impression of what the compressor is actually doing. You really want to avoid that. So that was just one little neat compression trick that I wanted to show you before we go on to the next section. And you can use that literally whenever you need to. So if you've put lots of reverb on, delay, and it kind of really needs that reverb and delay on, it's just that type of track. Or in the mix where the mix is just sort of starting to take over a little bit and you just want to bring the vocal forwards just a touch to make it cut through that little bit more, doubling up the compressor is a really great thing to do. And you can even go further. If you want to bring it even more forwards in the mix, you can of course triple the compressor or even quadruple it. But of course you're going to start getting a very, very compressed sound. So it depends what you want, but it will, every time you double up that compressor, it will bring it forwards in the mix. Nice little trick to add to your repertoire. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one where we start looking at creative parallel processing.